This will call the Sanger City Council into regular session at 7 o'clock p.m. If you will, please rise for the invocation to be led by Councilman Gann, and then we'll follow that with the pledge led by Councilman Burks.
Pray with me, please. Dear Lord, we come to you to say thank you. Thank you for all the opportunities that you've given us, all the blessings, all the answered prayers. We ask that you watch over us, all of our citizens, all of the leadership, and just help us make all the right decisions for everyone involved. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. As usual, the first item on our agenda is our citizens' input time. Anyone wishing to speak on an item not on the agenda, wishing to speak to council, we welcome that input from you. We do like to get a citizens' input form from you. Just by way of information, council cannot deliberate on any citizen input items because they're not an agenda item. We can definitely be all ears, as will staff. And so I'd invite anybody that would wish to speak during citizens' input to come forward and state your name and address for the record and share a visit with us if you'd like. Okay, seeing no one approaching the podium, our first item is a report, a presentation, and update on our solid waste services from Republic Services. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Good evening. I'm Jerry Harwell, the Municipal Services Manager that about 4 months ago was reassigned to take over the Louisville Business Unit with the departure of Cheryl Brock. I've been at the Fort Worth facility for 19 years, so I'm not new to the industry. I've been around the industry for a very long time, but in this current role it's for 19 years. It has not been easy. And I'm not going to come in here and tell you that it's just been a perfect road and everything's coming up roses. It has not. We have made a lot of changes at the Louisville facility over the last 6 months, bringing in a new operations manager, changing out some supervisors, bringing in a new general manager, a new sales manager, a new municipal manager. So there's been a lot of changes. There were a lot of things that weren't, communication was not going well. My very first meeting that I got invited to with staff, basically I walked in the door and I felt like, ooh, this isn't going to be very good. And I just said, you're right, it hasn't been good. So that's what I'm going to say. It hasn't been good. We're making the changes that we need to make, training new drivers. We've got some map issues. I found out today we have an area of town that shows to be serviced on Friday, and on this map it shows to be serviced on Monday. That's a problem because it shows we're servicing them twice, when in fact we aren't. So the only way I can fix it is if I know about it. I think that staff will agree that I've been very responsive, and other issues that we've had, we've been able to work through those issues, and we'll continue to do that. Kelly got to work with me in a previous city, so she knows that I do know what I'm doing, and I do what I say I'm going to do when I say I'm going to do it. So there have been some hiccups. When I look at the overall misses in Sanger compared to the number of drive-bys that we do, and when I say drive-bys, that's your brush collection, the trash, and then the recycle. It's a very minute amount. But any miss to me is a miss. It doesn't really matter if it's the resident setting it out late and saying that we missed it, it's a miss because it's their perception that it was a miss. I'll continue to strive to get it to where we have no misses, but things are going to happen. And I think everybody would agree with me. It's a people-oriented business, and I can't control every truck, every driver, and every helper. But I get pretty close. I've raised my family. I can get pretty close. Most of our drivers know me very well. They know me firsthand. They know that I'm not afraid to go ride in the truck with them. When I see misses coming in, the first thing I do is contact the operations supervisor and say, are all of these misses on one route? If they tell me all those misses are on one route, schedule a time I can go ride with that driver. And then they get me sitting in the truck with them. Which isn't the greatest place to ride, by the way, because it's really bouncy and I'm aging. But I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to go out there and get on the back of the truck with the helper. It's part of the job, and it's who I am. As I stand before you, as I turn these reports in, I'm the one that's responsible for this contract. That's my job, that's my role. If at any time staff doesn't feel like I'm stepping up, then they know that they can always contact my general manager. Very rarely has that ever happened. I can only think of once. It was a builder. He didn't approach me very nicely, and maybe I didn't respond very nicely back, but I own that, and I own what's going on here. I can't be in every truck every day and know what's going on. Today, I have 48 cities. Every one of them is important to me. I work 24/7, 7 days a week, if that's what's necessary. I answer my phone on the weekends, on vacation. I make sure there's somebody covering me if I'm out of the country. But it is very important that you receive the services from the public that you pay for. So I'm not going to come in here and sugarcoat it. We've had some problems. I think staff will agree until today. They've been minor, and we're working through the map situation. And by tomorrow, I'll know exactly what the problem is, and we will have that corrected. So I want to point out a couple of highlights in the monthly report that you did receive in your packet. However, as I was reviewing the report this morning, I noticed a calculation error in one of the slides, so I brought you a hard copy of that tonight so that it would come in. I could say we made a mistake. I'm building a team also. I have a municipal coordinator, Yanira Hyman, who was in logistics, and now she works for me. She does the reporting, and as I'm training her on the reports, I need her to completely understand what all of those numbers mean and why they're important. And she does one calculation, so that's what happened. And then I also had Alma Flores, who is a municipal administrator, and she works with the franchise, commercial, and industrial customers. So if they have any needs or if there's something going on with their account, then she can go out and do that. But they both report directly to me. So on slide number 2, your tonnage stays relatively flat. February is a short month, so it makes sense to me that your tonnage would be a little bit lower. July, people are cleaning out things, so tonnage typically goes up in July. And then we had a minor storm in August that probably attributed a little bit to that as well. Your recycled tonnage is pretty flat along the way. January was an increase, but it always is because it's after the holidays. And it's all those Amazon boxes. Unlike my house, they get delivered every day. And then your diversion rate is staying pretty flat and that is the recycle that we're able to process and keep out of the landfills. So I like for that number to keep going up, and we'll continue to work on that to see if we can't get more in through the recycling.
Can I ask you a question on that slide 2? On August, the residential SSR, is that the recycle piece? Is that what that is?
Yeah, single stream recycling.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know acronym.
And then your industrial and commercial collection, in August, it was a little bit higher than typical. And so that tells me that you either got some new businesses that have come online or that are getting ready to come online. And so I would expect that to fluctuate and not stay flat as the city continues to grow on their commercial and industrial end.
On that chart 2, it almost looks like August we double there. And I'm wondering if that's a calculation deal too, or a data input, or is there an extra, I don't know.
So the commercial and industrial recycle is not actually part of the agreement. That's open market, and so I don't really have a way to track that because they can use anybody that they want to.
I'm looking at the residential one.
On residential,
Yeah, your slide 2 on August. We were running like 50, 60, 70, and August is like 123. Makes me wonder, did we have an extra, does August have an extra pickup week? I know it's a long month, but I don't know. And I noticed that the fix on 4 was kind of a halving of a reported item, so it just made me wonder if there was a data thing.
so recycling is cyclical like everything else, and what people are recycling, it depends upon the weight, and so you'll see the tonnage weight will increase and decrease throughout the year. So that's pretty normal.
All right.
On slide number 4, that's the one that I'm writing the hard copy of because you had a 92% participation rate, and what happened was the number just basically got doubled.
Yeah.
And so we corrected that today. Your single stream participation and number of setups, that is actually a formula that's used, and so we don't actually count the number of cans that are out. So it is based on your population and what's, the tonnage and all that. So I'm happy that it's going exactly the way that I would anticipate it to go, although at 92% that was what I was expecting, and I was like, oh, red flag. Let's talk about your misses. So I've already admitted there's been some months that were issues. So it was April or May when we met. I took over in April. June was a high month. As far as we had 31 misses on the trash. But when you look at the overall number of times that we serviced and the number of times that we serviced, 31 is actually still within a low range of percentage of misses. I will continue to focus on getting this number down. We will be looking at all of the routing, all of the maps, to make sure that any new streets that are coming online are within those boundaries so that we don't have any hiccups moving forward. And so that's something that I will be working very closely with the ops team. Property damage, we only had 1 for the year. I love that. I like the fact that y'all are not like heavy alleys, because in alleys we have a lot more property damage. Carts are up against the fence, and the arm goes up to take the can, and usually takes the part of the fence with it. So I am happy to report on that. And then the materials diverted. So this is based on an annual audit that we do every year on the type of material that we get in at the MRF. So that's also, that's not necessarily exclusive to Sanger, but because I'm new to all of these contracts, I will be requesting an audit at the MRF so that I can get really good figures for the actual city of Sanger, so that I know how I need to work on education.
That slide feeds up in the slide I was asking about. And if you look down the July column and you compare it to August column, everything looks like it's ×2 basically. And it makes me wonder, do you have your slide 7 there in front of you, the materials diverted slide? That's the one that makes me wonder, because everything's doubled. So I don't know. I'm just saying, if you had a doubling in a formula earlier that this fixes, I think you'd maybe have a doubling in some other formula. Not worried about it, but I just kind of, just so the data gets fixed kind of going forward.
These reports are just as important to me as the person who manages the contract to make sure that I'm educating in the right places. Our operations team is doing what they need. And so I know that there was a report issued in Sanger before, and so I've gone back and looked at everything in there. Unfortunately, I was off last week for a funeral for a couple of days, and so the reports got done, and I didn't proof them before I sent them out, and so I got to see it this morning, and I was like, of all places, I happen to be going to Sanger tonight, and that's the one report that was wrong. So,
talk to me about your technology for tracking your routes. How do y'all track where your truck is and what routes they cover? What happens there inside of a truck and from your perspective?
So, when we took over this contract, I think that we worked to keep all of the routes the same as what they were, so that everybody would be on the same day that they were and all of that. Sometimes that's a great thing, and then sometimes it's not. And so one of the biggest issues that we had a management issue last year, and so there was some hiring that didn't happen. And so some of these routes were not really audited to be sure that, the number of homes is all equal, and that's what we like to be sure of, so that we don't have a driver on one route picking up 1,000 homes and a driver on another route picking up 200 homes. And so we like to balance all of those out. I don't really know what happened with the Friday, Monday thing yet, because I really haven't been able to get into it as far as I want to, which the route maps are on my computer, and that'll be tonight's homework. And then I'll meet with operations tomorrow, and we'll make sure that the information that's on the website for the residents is correct with what we have that's for the drivers. We're also putting all of the routes on tablets, so it gives the drivers the exact information, and then it kind of gives a check mark of where they've been, which is always important.
That's kind of that was really the heart of my point. Like I run, a subdivision over there in the Quail Run area, and my watch will, after I'm done, it'll tell me where I've been and how far I've been, and it tell me what streets I've been on. It's pretty granular,
That's what we're working on.
And that's kind of what I was asking, is if there's some technology that lets you, maybe from a higher level, say, well, we may have missed something here, but at least we were driving the route. At least we were covering the route. I don't know.
So that's usually the first thing that I ask for from operations when I get a whole street missed. I go to operations and I say, send me the GPS tracking for that route, and they send it to me. And when I see that the truck went down there, and I see that every house, all those places they stopped, except for one, usually tells me that resident doesn't have a card out. But again, it's perception, so they still have to go back. But it's so that I know. And then as we're hiring new drivers, we want them to run the routes the exact same way that we have them routed. Because that's the most efficient way to run it. And we want to make sure that the residents know when we're going to be there. Although, occasionally, I do have a driver that will go rogue and start at the end of the route and go backwards. And then I'll get a call from a resident that says, well, they're usually not here until 3. which is the reason why we always ask for it to be out by 7. And then we have until 7. Maybe 6, or maybe 6, is it 7 here? Maybe 6. But my goal is to get them in and out. So we're going to reevaluate all routes, especially the Friday, Monday situation, so I can get that straightened out. But we are going to evaluate all of them. I'm not anticipating any day changes. I may anticipate this driver takes over these streets. This driver does, we could do some of that, but not anything that will be an impact to a day change.
Quick question. And do the trucks, do they have like forward-facing cameras or any kind of technology like that?
Yes.
They do have the forward-facing?
So some of the trucks actually have a camera that faces forward. All of the trucks have a camera that faces the driver.
Okay.
All of the trucks have now been equipped with a forward facing. What we don't have is a camera on the arm that actually shows them lifting the container in there, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody asks me why. The reason we don't is because you put a camera on that arm, every time they pick up a car, it slips, they're going to hit the camera, I'm going to have to replace it.
No, that makes sense. I was asking for multiple reasons. One, you could see if they pass by a house if they don't stop. Two, you could see if any damages or anything. So that was why I was asking about the forward-facing camera.
Yes.
Totally makes sense not having it on the arm. Just too many possibilities of damage to the camera, so I understand that. But
while I was driving here, there was a resident that said, you missed my trash today. And I said, okay, well, I have a video of the driver going up to your house and there were no carts up.
that was why I asked.
And he said, you have a video on your truck? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, okay, how about my kid forgot to put it out? And I said, okay, that's better. We'll be back in the morning.
That was my exact reason for asking about the camera is so.
But it's still the policy. It's like anything else. I mean, I'm in the customer service industry.
Right.
It's all about perception. When I call the driver to let him know that my can was missed, he always laughs at me and says, well, Miss Sherry, if you would get it out of the curb before I get there, you wouldn't miss it. And I always laugh at him. Because I do that to him about once or twice a month, because I forget it's Thursday. I can't help it. I'm in the business and I forget it's Thursday. But we're going to continue to work on our partnership, continue to be the service provider that we should be. I believe we have all of the hiccups behind us with all of the changes that have been made. They've all been very good management changes. Enough that after 19 years, I'm going to move locations. I'm pretty comfortable up there in my chair in Fort Worth. All those people know me, but they said I was too comfortable, so I moved over to Louisville. But, so we'll continue to strive.
Well, those people that are affected by the Monday, Friday doubling, would they be notified of what date is their pickup date?
So, more than likely what's going to happen when I view that and I go and compare it to what's on the city's website, it's going to be on our end. They uploaded the map wrong, and so we'll just make the correction and the residents. We did pick up the people that got missed on Friday today, so that's been done. And then Monday's routes were done. So I'm 99.99% sure this is on us. We just didn't have the right time in the right place.
Okay, so on their end, they would still, whatever the site says, that's perfect.
Yeah, there won't be anything. But we did send a truck immediately this morning when we received the call, or the email. So.
Staff has worked with you. Does staff have any additional comments or observations? Because we don't get a lot of the, input from citizens. I mean, we will get a call every once in a while, or will be affected by it, which we have a little bit. But I know that general staff are the front line defense against get the questions, and the person who's upset they didn't get theirs out. So any observations that we should be aware of or that we haven't kind of emphasized here?
No, I mean, I think you're aware of most of them. There's been a lot of impacts. We know that we knew that there would be some changes when there was a transition between Cheryl and Jerry. Jerry has been working hard to work through it. Clayton and his team really have picked up the brunt of that. Kara especially has been able to manage a lot of those interactions and making sure that those pickups are getting done. Any notification, if there's any changes at all, we'll make sure to get those notifications out of customer service for the residents. So, but I think you're aware of most of the challenges we had, and we're working through it.
Okay.
And I don't say this because they're in here. You guys have great staff. They're very, very thorough. They're very good to work with, and believe me, they hold us accountable. And I think that's important for you guys to know that. Holding us accountable is great in my book, and I think they do a great job at that. They're very easy to communicate with, and they understand if it's something that's beyond our control, and so I think that leads to a really good partnership. So, and we really put them through the ringer. So believe me, I've cleaned up a lot of stuff since April. It's been a long several months for me too. So, but I'm feeling really good about where we are. And I will say, I had the option for this to be on the second council meeting in October, but I'm going to be on vacation, and I really didn't want that because I felt like it would be better if it was me. A, I can explain the report, and B, I'm the one that's responsible for the contract. So they did accommodate that and move me to tonight. So
That's great.
and I appreciate that.
Yeah. We'd like to see you, so that's good. Yeah. Other questions? Jerry? Anybody? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out. Thanks for taking the time. Okay, council, that brings us to our consent agenda, which has a contract for our accounting technology, Tyler Technologies, an update there, minutes from September 15th, proclamation policy, some amendments related to some legislative changes where we have to change some of our code and our permit stuff, fees, a resolution amending the fee schedule, and updating it for those same things, and a little bit of cleanup, as I noticed when you would have read in your packet, and then refunding that might be applicable to one of our RV park, Wagon Master parks. If anybody wishes to pull something from the consent agenda to discuss it, I'd be happy to do so. And beyond that, I'd entertain a motion to approve it if that's not the case.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda 2 through 7 as presented.
Okay. Okay, I've got a motion by Councilman Burris, seconded by Councilwoman Barrett, to approve the consent agenda items 2 through 7 in its entirety as presented. All in favor of the motion to approve the consent agenda indicate by raising your hand. Okay, passes 4-0. Council, you have an area here for some future agenda items. Is there anything that anybody would like to mention here for staff going forward? Okay. Information items, you've got the Republic Waste Service report and the update. Got some financial information. Thank you, Clayton, for providing that to us, as usual. And your disbursements report there and your informational items. Any question or comment of staff on any of those items? Okay. Seeing no more items on the agenda,
We'll call this meeting adjourned at 7:30.